Look at a map of the world today. Power is often associated with certain regions, certain continents, certain histories. But long before modern global powers emerged, long before the Industrial Revolution, long before the global financial systems we know today, there existed in the heart of West Africa an empire so wealthy that its influence reached across continents. An empire built not only on strength, but on trade, knowledge, and control of the most valuable resource of its time: gold. This was the Mali Empire, and at its peak, it became one of the most powerful and influential civilizations the world had ever seen. This is the story of how a kingdom rose from the edge of the Sahara and became one of the richest empires in human history. If you are new here, this is Untold Africa. Every week, we uncover one story that history overlooked. Stories of empires, civilizations, and people who shaped the world in ways many never learn about. Subscribe and journey with us through Africa's past. In the early 13th century, West Africa was a region of powerful but competing states. Among them, the Ghana Empire had already declined, and new forces were rising to take its place. In this shifting landscape, a small Mandinka kingdom struggled under the dominance of a powerful ruler known as Sumanguru Kante, leader of the Soso kingdom. It was a time of instability, of control, and of resistance. And then came a man whose story would become legend: Sundiata Keita. According to oral history, he was born into a royal family, but faced great hardship early in life. He was said to be unable to walk as a child, mocked, underestimated, and overlooked. But over time, he grew stronger, not just physically, but as a leader. He built alliances among neighboring clans, gathered support, and slowly formed a unified force. In the year 1235, at the Battle of Kirina, Sundiata and his allies defeated the Soso king. It was a decisive victory, and from that moment, the Mali Empire was born, not just as a kingdom, but as a unifying power across a vast region of West Africa. But Mali's true strength did not come from its army alone. It came from something far more powerful: control. Control of trade. The Mali Empire sat at the crossroads of the trans-Saharan trade routes, linking West Africa to North Africa, and from there to Europe and the Middle East. This position made Mali one of the most important economic centers of its time. From the forests and mines of the south came gold in vast quantities. From the deserts of the north came salt, a resource essential for preserving food and sustaining life. Caravans of traders, sometimes stretching for miles, crossed the Sahara Desert. Thousands of camels, moving slowly across harsh terrain, carrying goods, ideas, and culture. Gold flowed north, salt flowed south, and Mali controlled it all. At its height, the empire is believed to have controlled nearly half of the world's known gold supply. This was not just wealth, this was influence. This was power on a global scale. But it was under one ruler that Mali would reach its absolute peak: Mansa Musa. He came to power in the early 14th century, and his reign would leave a lasting mark on history. Mansa Musa is often described as the richest individual to have ever lived, not just in Africa, but anywhere in the world. His wealth was so vast that it is difficult to measure even by modern standards. In the year 1324, he embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, a religious journey known as the Hajj. But what followed was unlike anything the world had ever seen. His caravan included tens of thousands of people, officials, soldiers, servants, and camels, each carrying large amounts of gold. As he traveled through North Africa, he gave generously, particularly in Cairo. He distributed so much gold that it affected the local economy for years. The value of gold dropped, prices increased, and merchants struggled to stabilize the market. It was one of the clearest examples in history of how one man's wealth could influence entire economies. And through this journey, the world began to notice Mali. For the first time, West Africa appeared prominently on global maps. But Mali was not only rich in gold, it was rich in knowledge. Under Mansa Musa, cities like Timbuktu and Gao flourished. Timbuktu, in particular, became one of the most important centers of learning in the world. Scholars traveled from distant lands to study, to teach, and to exchange ideas. Libraries were filled with manuscripts, covering subjects such as mathematics, astronomy, law, and religion. The University of Sankore stood as a symbol of intellectual achievement. At a time when much of the world was still developing its educational systems, Timbuktu was already a hub of scholarship and academic life. This challenges a common misconception that Africa was isolated from global progress. In reality, it was deeply connected through trade, culture, and knowledge. But like all great empires, Mali's dominance would not last forever. After the death of Mansa Musa, the empire began to weaken. Leadership became less stable. Internal divisions grew, and the vast size of the empire, which had once been a strength, became difficult to manage. At the same time, trade routes began to shift. New powers emerged. The Songhai Empire rose to challenge Mali's dominance. Gradually, territories were lost, control weakened, and influence declined. By the 15th century, the Mali Empire was no longer the dominant force it once had been. Its power had faded, but its impact remained. The legacy of the Mali Empire is still felt today. It reshaped trade across Africa, connected distant regions, and demonstrated the complexity and strength of African civilizations. It showed that wealth, innovation, and knowledge were not limited to one part of the world, and it left behind stories that are still being rediscovered, stories of leaders, of scholars, and of a society that thrived in ways many never imagined. The Mali Empire was more than a kingdom. It was proof that Africa has always played a central role in global history, not as a footnote, but as a force of trade, of culture, and of influence. This was the Mali Empire, and this was Untold. Every week on Untold Africa, we bring you stories that shaped the continent, ancient cities, lost empires, and the histories that still echo today. If this episode changed how you see Africa, subscribe now, share this story, and tell us which part of African history you want to uncover next. Because history is never just the past. See you next week.